Morning and welcome to the family table. We're so glad that you're here. This is a special week. You know, we just have celebrated Palm Sunday and we're working our way up to Easter Sunday. And so today we're going to do a recipe that can be used for Sunday at lunch as a dessert or for Sunday for breakfast for Easter. We all know that the children are incredibly excited about Easter coming around, and you know they're excited about Easter baskets and egg hunts and things of that nature, and that's perfectly normal for small children to be excited about that sort of thing. But we all know that the real reason that we celebrate Easter is the risen Savior, and we can all celebrate that and feel glad about that because we know that there is life for us to come in our future for eternal life. So today we're going to be talking about some shortcakes, and we're going to be doing some maceration of strawberries and raspberries and peaches and a mango, and doing some whipped cream to go with that. And these are things that can be done ahead of time so that you can be ready for your Easter Sunday morning or your Easter lunch without a lot of preparation and a lot of stress, because you really want to be able to relax and enjoy your dinner times and your meal times with your family and your friends and not be stressed over it. So when we come back, we're going to get started, and I'll show you how easy it is to make this wonderful and pretty dessert. And I'll see you in just a moment. Okay, we're back, and let's go ahead and start with our fruit because it needs to sit for a little while, and you can fix this ahead of time and kind of set it to the side. You can refrigerate it. You can leave it out if it's just going to be for a few hours. Sometimes I like mine a little bit room temperature. My granddaddy used to do that when I was a little girl. He would do strawberries with what we call pet milks, what we called it then. It's evaporated milk. Comes in many brands now, but he would do that and sugar on his strawberries, and it was always so good, and he always left his out at room temperature. But I'm going to probably refrigerate mine because we're not going to use them till tomorrow. So what I've got some strawberries already sliced up. These have been washed, and I like to take the tops off of mine. And of course, you know, my chickens are going to get these tops and they're going to go crazy. As a matter of fact, you know, we've been incubating some eggs, and we have had 4 to hatch so far, and we're anticipating the rest of our 42 to hatch either today or tomorrow, so we're all very excited about that. Now, some people will slice this way, and that's fine. That's just not my particular choice that I like. I like to do mine long ways like this so I can stand them up and just do like little thin slices along the edge of my strawberries. Now, macerate means to soften. And you can do it with dried fruits. You know, when you try to, sometimes we call it reconstituting, but when you macerate dry fruits, you put some sort of liquid on them, and then they become soft again, like dried apples. And we're all familiar with that from our grandmothers and from our own selves about how we dry apples and then we will bring them back to their fleshy texture by adding a liquid to them. Well, maceration of the strawberries and the mango and things are the same thing, but we're going to do it with sugar. And it softens it, and the sugar will draw out some of the fluids that's in it because of the osmotic differences in the sugar and the strawberries itself. We're going a little bit light on our sugars. We're using all fresh fruits, and so we're trying to add that element of healthy living into our lifestyles daily, and that is even with desserts. And you'll see as we get on into the segment that our shortcakes are going to be smaller, and so the servings are going to be smaller. So we're all trying to concentrate on some things that without a lot of to-do and without a lot of changes in your routine, you can make these healthy lifestyle changes. Because if a lot of changes come along, you just won't stay with it for very long. So you need to do things really subtly to get things that are more healthy into your lifestyle. So I've got the strawberries here. I've got raspberries also. We're going to do 2 different color toppings because after all, we're talking about Easter, and we're talking about color. We're talking about spring flowers. We see color everywhere we look. Everything's blooming. The azaleas are blooming. The dogwoods are in full bloom. You know, everything is coming up and it's looking very new. And so we're going to do 2 different colors to go on our shortcakes. Now, what we want to do is also put some zest of an orange in here. Just a little, and we're going to save some of that zest for our shortcakes. So I'm going to go ahead and zest this off for our shortcakes. I put just a tad in there just to give it a little bit of that flavor. But if you juice your orange first, then you won't be able to get the zest off of it. So always zest first, and that'll just sit to the side. Oh, and it smells delicious. You know, that orange oils that comes out of the skin, it smells so good. Makes you want to just have a slice of this orange here. So I'm just going to have this here sitting to the side. And like I said, we do everything in real time here. And so sometimes you have to just bear with me as I get those things finished up. So I'm going to take this and scoop it up because we're going to use this board again. I'm going to put that right there. There we go. Now we're going to put the juice of this orange, and this is the acidity from this is going to help the juices start to come out of the strawberries. And we're just going to squeeze them. These are navel oranges. They don't have any seeds in them. So we're going to squeeze directly in there. This is going to be wonderful. Now with the peaches and the mango, I've used a little bit of the peach syrup, so we're not going to put any orange in that one, just in the strawberries and the raspberries. Now, a little bit of sugar, and I would say about 1/4 cup of sugar will be plenty to sweeten these up. Now, if you wanted to put a little vanilla, a little orange extract, any flavors that you really like, you can do that. Oops, get back in there. Wants to escape. Now, this is what it's looking like now, and when we get finished, in a few hours when you get ready to serve this, there's going to be a lot of juice in the bottom, and that's going to add to the flavor of your shortcake, so more juice is better. So, let's let this juice up. I'm going to sit that right there. Now we're going to do this mango. Sometimes people don't enjoy mangoes because they don't know how to slice them very well and how to get the meat out of them. As you can see, I've already got my peaches. They're already diced up into bite-sized pieces, and they're in the juice from the peaches. So we're going to put that there, and it's the light peaches that we have purchased. I'm just going to take the end off of that and get myself a surface to sit this on. And you can see that a mango has a narrow side and a thick side. So with this narrow side facing me, I'm going to start at the top, and I don't peel mine first because they get very slick. And there's a seed in there that you can feel, and you can run your knife down to the side of it, and you slice off that whole side. If you can see right there, that's the seed itself. So it's pretty easy to slide right down beside that seed. And now I'm going to do this side. And you can see that if it was slick all over, it would be very hard to hold on to this. And that's why a lot of people don't like to mess with them. And then I'll save that. That'll be for me later. I don't peel mine first because to me, once again, they're very difficult to hang on to. So we're going to slice it like this. And then if you want, you can serve it with the peel, but the peel comes right off, just like this. And then you can just chop it into little pieces. Now, if you want to, it's so slick you can't get a hold of it. If you want to, on the last segment, and you really need a different kind of knife, you can go ahead and peel this. But like I say, it gets real slick, and sometimes you have to worry about it like popping out of your hand and going across the room and, you know, hitting somebody or ending up in the floor. But if you hang on to it, you know, really tightly, put it in the palm of your hand, you can go ahead and peel. And it takes a little less time to do that than it does this other method, but you still have to remember that it's slick. But the fragrance and the taste is going to be wonderful on our shortcakes if we can get it lined up. As you can see, it's very difficult even to hold it together. I'm going to put this inside here, and look how pretty those colors are looking. So we're going to have the red, we're going to have the yellow, and we're going to have our beautiful shortcakes, and I'm going to show you they're going to have color on top of them. So let's see if I can hang on to this one for a minute and peel this off. There you go. They're like noodles. Now there's lots of nutrition in mango. There's fiber, there's vitamin C. The strawberries also have lots of fiber, lots of vitamin C. So, you know, we're trying to use fresh, we're trying to use nutritious, you know, trying to get some exercise every day. I was telling Steve this morning that I started cleaning the koi pond yesterday. Ooh, and what a job. I didn't think we were ever going to get through. It was getting dark last night and we were still filling the koi pond back up. So in that goes. Now these won't need as much sugar. The chickens are going to be happy today. as the strawberries, because peaches and mangoes are a little bit sweeter than strawberries. And raspberries. You know, raspberries are, really very tart. These won't need much, especially with the peach juice. Even though it's a light juice, it won't need an awful lot. We're going to stir this together. And you can see how beautiful that's coming together. The peaches and the mango, they're almost identical in color. Both high in nutrients, fibers, vitamin C's, along with the strawberries. And we're going to set those to the side, and we're going to let that start macerating. Now the peaches themselves, because they were canned, they won't macerate quite as much, but the mango being fresh, the strawberries being fresh, and the raspberries being fresh, they're going to soften. The taste is going to intensify. They're going to be easier to eat, easier to digest. All around, it just makes for a better fruit. When we come back, we're going to start with our shortcakes, and we're going to put those together, roll them out, and make some very pretty looking little Easter egg shortcakes. And I'll see you in just a moment.
Create a password.
Walter.
Your password must contain 8 characters.
Walter Dog.
Your password must contain 2 numbers.
Contain at least 2 numbers. Box of stupid.
We can't fix that problem. But at Fuller Heating, Air Conditioning, and Plumbing, real people answer our phones. Serving North Alabama and Middle Tennessee.
Please re-enter the password.
Well, we're back, and let's go ahead and start our shortcakes. I've got a big bowl here because I'm a little bit messy. I've got 3 cups of plain flour that we're going to use. I hear the back door opening. It's probably one of my little ones coming around. We're going to put that, we always start with dry ingredients first. I've got a tablespoon of baking powder that goes in there, and a ½ teaspoon of salt. No, it's Stella creeping around. Coming in. And so anyway, I think the kiddos are going to head out to class this morning. They've been taking the, like I said, we're hatching baby chickens, and then they had to take the dog to the vet, so it's been an active morning around here already. So we've got our 3 cups of flour, we've got our salt, we've got and our baking powder in here, and we've got a ½ cup of sugar. So see, there's not a lot of sugar in this. Now this is our dry ingredients, and we're going to include in that our orange zest. And all I'm going to do with that is just kind of fluff all that around, mix the ingredients together. Now, you know, one week we sifted it, which is an excellent way to do it, just to, get your sieve out and then put it in there and sift it. You can see how messy I am already. I've already got it out of this big bowl. Now, this is a ½ cup or 1 stick of butter. And it's salted butter, and I cut back. It was supposed to be 3/4 of a teaspoon of salt, so I cut back to a ½ teaspoon, and I'm using salted butter because that's what I have in the house. So we're just going to put that in, and you're going to cut this in, and I know you've heard that before, cut in. But there's a couple of ways you can do it. You can actually do it with your hands. They make these little handy dandy things, and I'll show you how that does. I'm just going to start working it with my hands and kneading it around. It works okay, but what I have found is that it gets stuck in those little tines, and then you have to kind of take your hand and get the butter out from between the tines a little bit. But it does work. As you can see how the butter kind of gets stuck up inside there. And to me, it's just hard to get out. So I don't use it very often. I continue to try, and it may be a learning curve that I have to get over. Or you can take a fork and kind of press around the sides of the bowl with your fork until you get all the little chunks of butter. And it's supposed to resemble like cornmeal. I know you've heard that, coarse cornmeal. It's going to keep the shortcakes tender and fluffy, and they're going to be, because we're using cream as our wet, they're going to be very moist and tasty. And that's what you want. You want flavor. You want a small serving with a big bang of flavor. And I can smell the orange zest in here, which is another element. It's another layer of flavor. And the more flavor you can get in anything, the more satisfied you're going to be at the end of your meal. And another way you can do this is like women used to do when they were making biscuits. You can just get in there with your hands. And honestly, the tools that God gave us are the best tools I have found for the kitchen. It's easier. You can feel the big lumps of butter. You can get it between your fingers, and you just crumble it. So all I'm doing is just crumbling those chunks of butter into smaller pieces and incorporating it with the flour. This is probably one of the most labor-intensive parts about this little recipe, is just getting this butter all incorporated in small little pieces. Now, just leave my hands like this till we get through. Now, the next things that we've got to do is put in here is our wet ingredients. And this is a cup and a half of whipping cream. Like I tell you, they're going to be very rich, very small, very tasty. And I'm going to whisk that around just a little. Just start making the dry ingredients get wet just a little bit. Now then, we've got 1 whole egg and 1 egg yolk. So we're going to start incorporating all this together. Those wonderful yellows. You can tell that's a chicken that grazes grass and gets you know, like I say, the strawberry tops and the mango peels and all that's what we feed our chickens. It's even making the dough yellow. So the dough's all coming together here. And that's basically all you want it to do, is come together, because we're going to turn it out on the board. A little bit of vanilla. Oops. Or a whole lot. I like vanilla. That was probably a tablespoon. You could use a teaspoon if you like. So there is the dough for our shortcakes. Flavorful, vanilla, orange, butter, rich in flavor. Now what we're going to do, we're going to turn this out and we're going to roll it. We're going to knead it just a little bit. So let's just see if we can get it to go on right here. Out she comes. You can see the orange zest in there along with the yellows of those eggs. I also notice sometimes on the shows that they leave an awful lot of stuff in the bowl. Well, I like to use all mine. I don't know about you. But it all comes together and equals money at the end of the month. So I try to get everything out that I can. Now then, what we want to do is just start working this around in this flour. Knead it a little bit. Then when I knead, I just kind of turn from side to side and roll it just a little bit. Kind of like when you're whisking in something or folding in something in a bowl, and you kind of come from the center and you work your way out to the side, just making little folds. Well, that's the way that I like to fold in and knead my doughs. That is looking good. And one thing you have to be careful of is that because this dough is kind of wet, when you go to roll it and cut it then, if you don't clean up this little spot that you've got right here, it'll stick to your board. So let's clean that just a little bit. Now, I've got a little rolling pin here. I collect rolling pins, and I'm going to show you some of my rolling pins when we come back. But I'm just going to basically roll this out into a flat surface about a ½ inch thick. Now, this has got cold water in it. And supposedly with pastries, if you do this, it keeps the butter cold. My problem's always been that it gets wet and it wants to stick. But it seems to be working okay. But this actually has a cap that comes off the end of it. You fill it with water, you put ice in it, and then you roll with it. It's not my favorite, but I wanted to show it to you today. So when we come back, I'm going to show you one of my favorites. We're going to roll these out, put them on the pan, and top them with some colorful sugar. I'll see you in just a second. Yeah, I don't know who came up with that little ice. Well, we're back. I was going to share with you some of my rolling pins. Now, I switched over from the one that was filled with the ice water to this complete wooden one. This was made up in the Amish community, and they made these out of black walnut and some things like that. They do add a little character sometimes because they have knots and things in them, so you have to be careful about that if you don't want any blemishes on your whatever it is you're rolling out. There are also ceramic ones that you can use. They come in many colors, and this one is a white one. You still have to be very careful when you have any wet surfaces. You make sure everything's very dry, and you need to flour these sometimes to make them not stick. Now, especially these silicone ones. Before you use one of these silicone ones, you really have to put a little flour on it, and it just takes that stickiness away, and it makes it very usable, and you don't have to worry about it sticking to anything. But if you try it without flouring it first, it'll stick to your goods, and then your, things don't look so pretty. All right, one time I made a cake for my dad, and it completely fell apart. But he said it was the most delicious cake that he ever had. And so you don't have to have things that are perfect, and they don't have to be beautiful. And sometimes your mistakes turn out to be the best things that you've ever discovered. So don't worry about it and don't stress over it. What we're going to do today, I've got a little Easter egg thing here that we'll cut one out of. And most of them will be Easter eggs. And so this is about 1/2 of an inch thick. I'm going to just let that fall out. I've got flour here because this is a wet dough. You need to put these about 2 inches apart, and it's supposed to go on parchment paper, but I discovered this morning that I didn't have any parchment paper. So I sprayed it, and we're going to see how we're going to do with that. Hopefully we'll do just fine. Let's see if we can get this one up. Put it right there. Good. Now I also have flour, in case you've got girls in your family that wants to do something kind of pretty. Let's see if we can get this one to come out. Sometimes you'll get lucky and they'll stick inside your cutter and you can kind of get your hand under them. Well, that one is pretty. I think I like that. We also have the diamond shape, which is like a traditional scone shape that you could use. Now this one's a little bit bigger, so this would be a manly portion. And I always just wiggle and jiggle a little bit. There we go. If you can get your hand under them, it works out much better for you. So we're going to make another row right here. So that's the diamond shape. I am going to do a few more eggs, even though they didn't come out as nicely. Let's see if I can get this one, because this is Easter. And we're about to put some toppings on here and some colorful sugar. And we're going to have ourselves a nice Easter breakfast or an Easter dessert, and we're going to impress everybody with it. I'm just going to continue to cut those. Now I have one circle. I don't think we've cut one of those yet. But the eggs are really what we're going for. See, just if it comes out in your cutter, you're so much better off when you can get your hand under it and you don't have to try to pick it up because of the dough being so soft. Okay, that's all we're going to be able to get on that pan. But this is what they look like. They are very pretty. I'm going to move right around here, and we're going to get some close-ups, and I'll show you what we're going to do with this. I've got some cream, and I've got some sugars. Now, these sugars are optional, but in our household with the children, they always like to decorate everything. And, of course, I always have to have some girl color and some boy color. That's just the name of the game around here. We're going to brush this with some heavy whipping cream, and it's going to give us a nice surface for our sugars to adhere to. We're going to bake them right on there, and they're going to glisten. Actually, the heavy cream makes the shortcakes themselves kind of glisten and shine on top. Now these bake at a high temperature for about 15 minutes, and they're going to puff up, and then we're going to split them in half, and we're going to put our macerated fruit in the middle around the edges, and then we're going to top it with some whipped cream that we're about to do. And just for you guys, I always use my stand mixers. You know I'm not very good with this hand mixer. I'm going to try to do some whipped cream in just a regular bowl, and I hope it doesn't go spraying everywhere. All right, now then, this is just some white sanding sugar here. And I'm going to sprinkle a couple of these, and it just kind of glistens itself, and you can see how pretty that's looking already. But since this is Easter, let's do a little yellow one. That would be our yellow Easter egg. Let's do a couple of yellows. You know what? We better do the flower too in yellow, because that's kind of pretty. Now, we better get some blue in here. Can you see how pretty this is going to be on Easter morning? And you can do these the night before. So it's no problem. And it works out so nicely. Here goes the greens. And I think they're going to be just beautiful, splendid. We have this going on. I'm going to stick these in the oven. Set our timer. And when we come back, we're going to whip up some whipped cream and put this all together and show you how beautiful this is absolutely going to be, how delicious it's going to be, and you're just going to love it. So I'm going to save a few seconds for the end so we can whip this cream up. I'll see you when we get back.
Come join us at the Jameson Inn Hotel and Conference Center for a delicious dinner. Our menu includes many of our favorite appetizers, burgers, salads, and delicious steaks, chicken, and ribs, and a night of dancing to live music, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday nights from 8 p.m. to midnight in our beautiful new Singing River Bar and Grill. The Singing River Bar and Grill is open 6 days a week from 4 p.m. to midnight and Sundays from 5 p.m. to midnight. Don't wait, come see us soon. We would love to have you and your family as our guest at the Singing River Bar and Grill. You will love it.
And look how beautiful. This would be something so special to have on Easter morning. You can do these ahead of time, put them in an airtight container once they have cooled off, pop them out the next morning, slice them in two, put your macerated fruits on top that's been softened and the flavor's intensified, put a dollop of your whipped cream on top, maybe do some bacon or sausage to go along with it, because most people they're like me, like sweets and salts together. And it's just a wonderful, pretty Easter morning breakfast, or you can have it for dessert at your Easter lunch. And it's easy, it's very special. Shortcakes, people don't do a lot anymore. It was an old dessert that people used to do. They called them tea cakes, shortcakes, and sometimes they would put raisins in them, and they would store them in the cupboards, and all day long they would come in and maybe grab a tea cake here and there, maybe for lunch, or right before dinner when they were so hungry from working in the fields. And so it takes us back to our roots a little bit. We've got the beautiful fruits, we've got the peach and the mango, we've got the strawberries and the raspberries, and it's just lovely. It looks like Easter. Easter is all around us. And now that we're through cooking and all that, I've got a little bit of Easter to share with you. I want to show you something. This is a little turkin. He's called a naked neck. If you can see his little neck, it does not have any fur on it, no feathers. And he was born last night. He's still got his egg tooth on top of his beak a little bit, where they use that little tooth to crack out of the shell that they're in. And he is just, he or she is so difficult to tell. Usually it's about 8 months before you can know for sure. But look at that neck, how cute he is. And he is just, it's just Easter. It's spring, it's life, it's new life that we have. And God gives us that promise of new life. And as always, find something that you love and share it with someone, even if it's a baby chick. See you next week. Bye-bye.